Hey guys, I'm Riley. You may have seen my walk-around video with my 2016 Toyota Tacoma. Changed things up a little bit, upgraded, and now I got a 2019 Sprinter van 4x4. Came just as an empty cargo van, and we've sort of built it all out ourselves and done the exterior and interior mods. Ride height's about the same as stock. We have added some Black Rhino Arsenal wheels to this and put on some larger KO2 tires, but suspension and everything stayed the same. You can never have enough lights. So we got some Baja designs, some pod lights, some ditch lights up here on the hood. And then up on the roof, we added a Rome-built roof rack with 5 big ARB spotlights up there, 280 watts of solar. We got a storage box and a pneumatic cooling air conditioning unit. So down here, right by the driver's side door, we have the exhaust for our diesel heater, which is a Rixson heating system. So it's a hydronic loop, and we get both hot air and hot water off of this single unit here that draws off our fuel tank. And then we have our solar port for an exterior ground solar panel, which we got plugged in right now, but with today's conditions, I don't think we're getting too much out of that. Coming a little further back, you see we got quite a few windows in the van. So this was just a standard cargo van. It didn't have any windows past the B pillar here. So we had to cut out the side panels of the van here, install these. We also cut out the side panels in the back, and we added some flare space flares on here on both sides, which allowed us to put our bed going widthwise across the van, which saved us a lot of space and gave us a lot more living room up front. Coming to the back of the van, we have our shore power hookup. So it's just a 30 amp plug, allows us to plug in at campgrounds or at home just to top off our batteries. We don't have to use it too much because of all the solar we have on the roof, but it does come in handy on occasion. So in the back of the van here, we have quite a bit of storage. And then on the driver's side, in this storage box, we have a 20-gallon water tank in the bottom half. In the top half of the box, it has a water pump which pulls off our 2 20-gallon water tanks, and they're connected or we can isolate them. It goes through a heat exchanger, which the water flows through one side, and the other side is the hot glycol, which is being heated by the diesel heater up front. And that heat exchanger then, the hot glycol transfers the heat over to the water continues to flow through, then goes through an adjustable thermostat so we can set just how hot of water we want coming out of it so we don't scald ourselves. And then that goes on to our shower and to our kitchen sink. So we have both hot water and cold water running to everything. And then there's a second heat exchanger in that same glycol loop that essentially just runs through a radiator, and it's got 2 fans that blow air through it, so we get hot air off of it as well. So we can run our single diesel heater, which just pulls off our main fuel tank, and it just sips diesel and barely uses any power, and it gives us all the hot water and all the hot air we need, and it's on-demand hot water. So essentially, as long as we have water in our tanks, then we have hot water. This is our whole outdoor shower system, and it's got a button right on the back so you can start or stop the flow of water, so you can conserve that as much as possible. We got our mixing valve, which controls both our on and off, so the flow of water as well as the temperature all in one unit. We then added a lot of storage on our doors, so we made all of these custom panels ourselves, added some padding and wrapped them in fabric. And then these panels are actually held on by magnets, and the ones on the top and bottom are bolted on. And we added these nice MOLLE panels so we can add a lot of extra storage like you see over here on the passenger side. So this allows us to store things like our propane tanks, we have chargers, citronella candles, and other little odds and ends that you need when you're outside of the van and you don't want to be climbing into it all the time. And then just like on the driver's side, we have another storage box. This one also houses that 20-gallon water tank in the bottom half. And then the top half, we have a small cubby up here. We can put a lot of extra things like our stove, which we keep in a nice storage bag there so it doesn't get scratched up. So a little further forward on the passenger side, we have these 2 L tracks, allow us to mount a bunch of stuff. So we have our Brog tire bag up there where we keep our leveling blocks, our 30 amp shore power cord, a 20 amp extension cord, and a little shovel. So that's handy for things that we don't use all the time, but we want to keep somewhat handy. And if they go in there dirty, it's not the end of the world. On the passenger side, on the back of the van here, we have a Alvan Sherpa panel. So this allows us to mount up ski racks or a bike rack, depending on what we're doing. We got this sweet piece of gear by Reeb Gear, and it's a little adjustable step. So you just pull out the pin and you can slide it up and down, which makes it really convenient to get your bike off of here because the van is so tall and I'm a little vertically challenged. So then you can just step up on here and climb up to your bike rack and fold up the top to get the top tire release because we mount our bikes vertically. Coming around to the passenger side now, we of course have the main door into the van, and then up top we have our Girard awning that bolted straight onto our Rome-built rack. It's all electric, so it just goes out, no legs. It's got LED strips so we get some light in our camp at night as well. And then we have currently our bug screens rolled up, but we have a great bug screen here that zips down and then has a magnetic entrance right at the door here, and that just keeps all the bugs out. Makes it really nice in the summer. Yeah, we have a habit of falling into big projects. Well, we don't fall into them, we lead ourselves there. We love having a project. So we had the truck before this, the Tacoma, which went through 3 iterations of campers and build outs on there. Moved to the van, and we've been building this out, and we actually just purchased a 1978 Diana Mariner 36 sailboat. So this has been a great project. We took what we learned from the truck and sort of incorporated a lot of that into the van. One of those things being the fridge layout. One thing we loved in the truck was you could open the back door and you could get into the fridge from outside. You didn't have to climb up in there. So we made sure to incorporate that into the van. We have 2 fridges here. We actually have a drawer style fridge, which is sort of turned into our drink fridge here. And we just can load this up, or we can turn it off if we don't need the extra storage space and save a little bit of battery power. And then we have a dorm style fridge above it. Both these are 12-volt fridges. Moving up on into the van now. So one of the things that we love about this van, and this actually came stock, so we can't take credit for it, is both front seats swivel around. And that just gives us a lot of seating space up here, a lot of room to hang out. When we're doing winter camping, it's cold or snowing out, we can pile everybody in here and play some games around our table. And it's just a great space to hang out and relax. With the door wide open, you just feel like you're outside as well. And we really recommend getting the swivel seats from the factory if you can, because you actually get a shorter seat base. So then if you buy the non-factory swivel seats, you get a tall seat base and then have to add a swivel on top of that. And if you're a little shorter like us, then it makes you about 10 feet off the ground and you can't reach the pedals anymore. So definitely recommend this. We have our Brog tool roll bags. This is where we keep all of our tools. We're always doing little projects, even when we're out camping and on the road. So up front here, kind of in the cockpit area, we have some more organizers. We have some visor storage bags here. We have those on both sides. So plenty of storage. And then we have our GMRS radio here. So we have a little Midland radio, little handset we can pull down so I feel like truckers going down the road. We also have our S-Pod for all of our exterior lights. So this does our main roof lights, the lights on the left side, the right side, back side, and they're all wired up individually so we can turn on one side in particular, that we're not blinding everybody in camp, just the people we really don't like. Up top here, we have an overhead shelf. So this is something we installed. It's from Shushkin Vans, I believe is what it's called. And what's unique about theirs is they actually have L-track mounted underneath. So we have some cool little mounts here. So we can mount our cameras. It's really nice when we're at the beach. You come back and you can hang up your towel up here and get it out of the way. So we put a lagoon table in here, which is great. We can tuck it out of the way like you see it now when we're going down the road or just hanging out. And then you can swivel it out and around so everybody sort of gets access to it. You buy the mount and then you make your own tabletop for it. And it's just an awesome piece of gear that makes the functionality in here that much better. So up top here on the driver's side, we have currently our one and only overhead cabinet. We're looking to add some more. Again, it's just one of those things we haven't quite got to yet. But on the front of it, we have our main control panel. So this is where we can monitor our batteries. You can see our battery percentage, our solar coming in, DC power going out. If we had any AC loads, they'd be shown as well. All that on this neat little touchscreen here. So this is actually by Victron Energy, and we pretty much have a full Victron system. So we have their battery, solar controller, this, which is their Touch GX, I believe it's called. And we have their Servo GX, which is the main brain of everything. So it's pretty much our full electrical system. The next panel down is our Rixon heater. So this is that diesel heater I was explaining earlier. And this is how you can choose if you want hot water, and then you choose your heat source. So it can either be electric furnace, or there's an option for engine if you want to tie it into your main engine coolant loop, which we haven't done yet, but it's something we're considering. And then we have our controls for all of our lights and fans and everything. So this is an S-Pod system, and that does our roof lights and the under lights in the cabinet, bathroom lights, fan, and our water pump, as well as our drain. We have a little lock pad up here. This is kind of where we keep our electronics and fun toys and everything. So you just can punch in your code here, and then that unlocks it and you can pop it open. And then inside we have storage for our laptops here, a little charging station. We have 110 volt charger, and then 12 volt USB plugs as well. We had little storage bins. So we built everything inside the van ourselves. And then like on our cabinets here that have this trim, we would route a groove down the end of the plywood and actually do these press in trim pieces here just to sort of finish it up and make it look a little nicer. And this is the stuff we enjoy about doing projects, is finding all these solutions to make things look nice and finished. And a lot of it is stuff you can just get at your local hardware store or Amazon. So underneath our couch here is all of our electrical system. So I'll show you what's going on there. And we have room for expansion. So down here we have our 200 amp hour Victron lithium battery. And that's then hooked up through our Lynx distribution. So we have the Lynx Smart Shunt and then the Lynx distribution bus bar. So all of our loads tie into this. And then all that runs through the Servo GX, the main brain, which is down over here. And then you have to have, the Victron batteries are super cool. This is the same size as like a Group 35 battery, but the way they're able to pack so much power into this small battery is there's no internal battery management system. So you have to have what's essentially an external solenoid for both your power going out and power going in. So this is our power coming in, and then our power going out solenoid's down there. And basically the battery talks to those, and if it's getting too low, it shuts off the power going out, and if it's getting overcharged or too hot, it shuts off the power coming in. So it's kind of a trade-off there. You get a really compact battery with a lot of storage, but then you have to make room and connections for these external units. And we thought that was worth the trade-off. And I mean, just to get this size battery is really nice. And then that battery management system can accommodate additional batteries. So we can put in, actually, we left room for 2 more of these batteries. So we can have up to 600 amp hours, which isn't something we felt is necessary at this point. 200 has been plenty for us. If we get a couple overcast days, we might have to drive around a little bit, but because this is both our vehicle and our camper, if we go anywhere we're driving, so that's charging up our battery. So we have all of our AC breaker panels here up front. We have our inverter charger underneath that. That's a 2000 watt inverter, and that's hooked up to shore power. And then of course there are outlets throughout the van. On the power inside, we have our MPPT solar controller for all the solar panels that are on the roof. We have a Red Arc DC to DC charger, which is actually a combo DC to DC and solar controller. So this is what the ground solar panels come into. So when we're charging, this is being powered by the battery, and we're getting, or by the alternator, and we're getting power off that. And if we're parked somewhere, we can plug in our ground solar panels, like the Goal Zero ones we have outside, and that power is flowing through there. So we have that in addition to our roof solar panels. On the power outside, we have a DC distribution block. So this is all of our fuses in it for like our lights and fridges and fans and everything. And then this is the main controller for the S-Pod, the Bantam X unit. So this is for, that S-Pod is for all of our interior lights. And then we actually have a second S-Pod unit over here, and this controls all of our exterior lights. So all the lights you see up on the roof rack and around the outside of the van are all powered here. And then we have a smaller little 12 volt panel here for hooking up things like our awning or other units that it's just a little more accessible than the one tucked in the back there. This is a neat little thing we found. It's actually a fire extinguisher. So it's just a little ball you put in here, and if it's exposed to an open flame, it goes off and puts everything out. So that's kind of our insurance policy right there. Keep it in the electrical system, in here with everything else, and hopefully if we ever have an electrical fire, this stops it before it gets too bad. Further back on the driver's side, we have our shower. It seems pretty straightforward. It took us a couple iterations to get it all right. We pretty much nailed the size and shape of it to begin with. The big challenge was the interior coating on the walls. How do you waterproof it? Because we actually built it, the walls are just 3/4 inch plywood on either side to keep everything compact and take up as little room as possible. But then you have to be really confident that you waterproof the walls. So we started off using Flex Seal on this actually, and that was a bit of an experiment, and it felt really good. It was definitely waterproof, but the durability wasn't quite there. You could take your fingernail and scratch it and it would come off. And so we didn't feel comfortable with that with a long-term solution. So Maggie spent a couple hours one day scraping all of that off and sanding it back. And then we decided we were gonna tile it, but we found some vinyl self-adhesive tiles we're gonna put up. So first we painted it with your typical like residential waterproofing membrane on the inside. And we spent forever tiling the whole inside, had these nice hexagonal tiles on the back and these big square tiles on either side, and it looked incredible. And I came out the next morning and half the tiles were on the floor, and it was just so disappointing, but I had to go to work, and I'm driving to work, and every bump I hit, I just hear this crash back here as more and more tiles fall off. So then we had to pull all that off. And now what we've gone for is actually a bilge paint. So we mentioned that we've gotten into renovating a boat, and so we picked up some stuff from that. So we've done some fiberglassing in here and then actually used an epoxy-based bilge paint for all the walls. But first we went through and put thickened epoxy fillets in all the corners. We've put fiberglass on it, and we've like fiberglassed the ceiling as well, and then put this epoxy-based paint on it all that's really durable, and it's a really slick surface as well. So water and dirt and everything just rolls right off of it. So our shower pan, this is definitely a bit unique. It's actually a butcher block countertop that we routed down the inside 3/4 of an inch. So we looked at what other people typically do, and it's buy a store-bought plastic shower pan, or you get a custom metal one made. And we couldn't find any store-bought ones that really fit the shape we needed, especially with us wanting to tuck the toilet out of the way. And custom metal pan, there's the expense of it, and we just didn't love like the look, and we didn't want a sharp metal edge on it. So we ended up going this route, bought a butcher block countertop from Lowe's, and I spent a long time cutting this out with a circular saw, and then sort of chipping out as big a piece as possible. And then we make a router sled that we could put over it, and we routed it all out and put a fillet around on all the edges, and then just covered the heck out of it with varnish to make it as waterproof as possible. And then again, we took that thickened epoxy, put a fillet around the outside to bond it to the walls, and then painted everything over. And it's worked really well. It's held up. You know, we're careful if we come in and we think we might have like rocks in the bottom of our shoes or something. We always try to wipe it off or take our shoes off before we step in here, so we're not scratching up and breaking that coating. But it looks really nice, and we like how bright and warm it makes it feel. And so far it's held up really well for us. We actually incorporated a little fan, and it uses a computer fan just mounted behind this cover that's open on the bottom. That way water doesn't get into it. So we can open an outside window just behind this, and then it'll suck everything out. And then our shower sprayer here is actually a bidet sprayer. So when we were looking for a shower head, we wanted something that was compact and small and had a button so you could turn it on and off. And a lot of the RV shower heads that actually have that button look like they're metal, but it's actually plastic with like a chrome coating and feel kind of cheap. And Maggie made this awesome discovery that bidet sprayers have a little push button, and they're super compact. So you can see how small it is, and that has our full mixer in it too. So that's how you adjust your hot and cold water and water pressure. And then you just got a little spray handle with a click button on the back. So a little pro tip, if anybody's looking to build out a van or add an outdoor shower or something, go check out bidet sprayers. So our shower door, we used a Nautilus style retractable door. So that just slides on out and locks into place, and it just retracts right up into itself here. It's kind of self-cleaning, so as it goes in, it squeegees itself off and gets off all the excess water, and just doesn't take up any room at all. And we love this, and as opposed to having a solid door, because we can leave it open all the time. So for our toilet, we kind of went low-tech, simple solution. So we ended up with a little Dometic cassette toilet. It's a 5-gallon holding tank, and it's been awesome for us. It holds more than enough. It's super easy to empty. We just carry it outside, you know, at your typical RV dump station or at a sewer clean out. You could even dump it in a porta potty or a toilet if you need to. The kitchen has a little bit of storage here under the sink. Again, haven't quite finished it, so we don't have this top box in here, but we have 2 drawers. So this one's kind of a U-shaped one, and that cutout there just fits around the sink drain as it goes back in. And then we have a bottom drawer, and this has all of our induction pots and pans down here, and our induction cooktop is actually kept in here as well. The sink was a bit of a challenge because our gray water tank is on the driver's side and the sink's on the passenger side. We had to find a way to get the sink to drain properly, and we ended up doing that by using a gulper pump. So it's just a large diaphragm pump that actually mounts down here. It's down under the counter, and we have a small button on the side, and you can just push that, and that activates the pump, and it'll pump the water over into our gray water tank. So just back from our kitchen, we have our pantry. So this is just a full height pantry that's the full depth as well. We wanted to make sure we utilized all that space, and so we have a full depth pantry that is exactly 1 baguette deep. Just discovered that packing for this weekend. And then underneath the pantry, we have a little push out trash can here. Yeah, this is hands down the coolest part of the whole van build, and I can't even take too much credit for it. It's not like I came up with it, but we actually have a projector screen that pulls down at the foot of the bed, and at the head of the bed, we have a little projector here that's actually battery powered, so it'll last about 3 hours on its own internal battery, has built-in speakers. You can stream directly from it. It can connect to Wi-Fi, or we have an HDMI cord that we plug into it, and then we can plug our iPad into that, so we can download all of our shows beforehand and then plug it in, and we get our own little movie theater back here in bed, which is good and bad. It's amazing, but we also just never want to leave the van. You know, it's super cozy back here with everything closed up, and then you have a movie theater, and especially if it's raining or cold out, we basically just live back here. And then our whole bed system actually folds up to the driver's side. So we can just grab it here, fold the end over, and then the whole bed system just folds up. And that just tucks up against the wall. We have a very elegant solution for holding us in place for the moment, and that is some clamps that we clamp onto the ceiling to hold it there. But it doesn't take much because of the gas strut, and it just keeps it out of the way. And then we have full standing room back here. We can get access to our storage cabinet, a little first aid kit, all of our shoes, cooler, anything else you have back here. All right, guys, thanks for taking the time to check out my Sprinter build. If you want to see more, you can check me out on Instagram at Terra Roamers, and hopefully we'll finish this up in the near future and we'll be able to give you a tour of the finished product.